Hey guys, so it's Sunday and I'm here and yeah, it's a day. Holy crap. So, funny story before we get started. I have been so stressed out this week. Like super duper stressed out, overloaded, not enough hours in the day. I don't know how the hell I'm supposed to get everything done. Like that kind of stressed out. And yeah, it's just nothing has been going the way it's supposed to. And so today I woke up and I set my plan for the day on what I'm going to get done. And I have so much work and not enough hours to get it done. And my kids will be coming home soon from their dad's house. And it's just, how am I supposed to get everything done today? So I go and I do my daily tarot card to, ask the universe, what message do I need to hear today? What do I need to know today? What does the universe tell me? Four of Swords. Rest, recuperate, de-stress. It's the self-care card. The universe has a really, really funny sense of humor because on a day where I have deadlines, I have things that I need to get done and not enough hours to do them, what does the universe tell me to do? Go take a break. Go relax. I don't know how I'm supposed to do that. I don't. I think the universe is picking on me. I mean, I do know I need to rest. I need to recuperate. I need to de-stress. I get that. But today is not the day that I'm going to be able to do that. So universe has a very funny sensibility right now. And I think the universe is picking on me. But I will try and find time, just like I tell you guys every week, take time for self-care. I will try today to find time to do some kind of rest, relax, maybe go take a bath or whatever. But I got to get work done because I do have deadlines. I have something that is due tomorrow morning, so I have to get it done tonight. So, very funny, universe. Very funny. All right, so let's get on to our reading for this week. We're on chapter 24 this week in A Taste of Your Own Magic. Let's see what we learned today. Chapter 24. The best part of riding on Gray's motorcycle was it gave her an easy out when it came to small talk. Sage spent the entire trip back to the office working the pieces of the puzzle in her head. Everything was right there in front of her. The answers, the motivation, the guilty parties, but nothing fit. So, what's your read, partner? Gray broke through Sage's pensive silence once they pulled into the A.S.E.T parking garage. I really wish I could tell if you're mocking me. Frustrated at her own failure to connect the dots, Sage let her sarcasm fly before she could stop herself. Depends on your answer, really. He shrugged and looked away quickly. Could go either way. Sage set her helmet down on the seat of the bike and went to work tying her hair back into a clean ponytail. With motivation like that, you can see why I'm so eager to reply. Hey, you've been acting like a child lately. He busied himself, digging through his saddlebags, and didn't see the face that she made at his eye-roll-worthy remark. I could say the same for you, especially after your little temper tantrum last night. Gray slapped the fedora back on his head. A satisfied smile spread across his face. Ooh, we're still prickly, aren't we? Not in the slightest. Sage shrugged her shoulder bag on, fighting the urge to snatch the hat and shove it down his throat. Kill him with kindness, she reminded herself before finishing her reply. Just commenting on the maturity level of our partnership. Big girls can be responsible for their own transportation. Fine. She knew it would come to that sooner or later. I'll ride the bus. Are we done with this conversation? You don't have to take that tone. I didn't mean... It's easy to take advantage. He pinched the bridge of his nose and sighed. It's fine. Really, I can't always be counted on to be chauffeur, though. His sudden shift had her head spinning. What was he playing at? She crossed her arms and glared at him. I never expected you to chauffeur, nor did I plan on taking advantage. But kudos on the misogyny. You nailed that with that little love note you left me. Oh, is that what you thought? Gray cocked his head to the side, his brow furrowing. She was certain they spoke the same language, but the confused look on his face said otherwise. How did you expect me to take it? He shifted uncomfortably from one foot to the other. Partners have to do more than just work side by side. His voice gained conviction as he continued. They need to be able to lean on each other and confide in each other. Gray met her eyes. Gray met her eyes head on as he punctuated his speech with, they must trust each other. Sage took a step backwards, as if the force of his glare had pushed her. That's not... Shut up and listen for once. He threw the full weight of his voice into the command. Shock held her tongue. This was a different side of Gray, one she had never thought to see from him. Whether or not you want to be partnered with me, we are, which means we have a responsibility to work together for the case. I was working. Whatever you think you're doing doesn't matter. You're arrogant, obstinate, and entitled. He growled the words at her. I can deal with that. But what I can't handle, he took a deep breath, as if needing the moment to calm his mounting anger, is your secretiveness. What? I'm an open freaking book. Sage threw her hands up in the air. It didn't matter what she did. She was always wrong. Problem is, every time I try and open my mouth, you shut me down telling me how stupid or childish I am. You have a lot to learn. And I would if I had a partner who helped me instead of being a bully. She squared off against him, planting her feet as her hands found her hips. She arched an eyebrow, daring him to refute her statement. He should have been intimidated. She'd thrown that look at Matt many times before with excellent results, but Gray simply laughed. Devin kicks the crap out of you, and you go to him for everything. You confide in him. Don't try to cover jealousy with pretty words. Devin's my trainer. It's his job to spar with me. If he wanted to bring other people into this, she'd willingly oblige. Let's not forget that you employed a vampire to attack me in order to trick me into following your orders. I'll admit, not my finest moment. Amusement faded from Gray's face. But since then, I've done everything in my power to protect you, and as partners, we have a duty to be honest with each other. Is this about Zack showing up at my apartment? She let her hands fall from her hips. Seriously, I told you he did that on his own, and it would have been rude for me to shoo him away. He would have understood. Gray looked away, pretending to fix his hair and adjust his hat. Remember, I invited you to stay. You declined. I don't want to play stupid games. You could have just hung out and gotten to know me and my family better. You mean the roommates? His nose crinkled. Yeah, Matt and Josh, they're like brothers to me. She said it with enough force to ensure that he understood they were not to be disparaged. You want trust? That's earned. We might be partners, but that doesn't take away the things that you've done. You call me arrogant? Take a look at yourself. You don't want to listen to me because I'm a damn newbie who doesn't know anything, and you're the expert. So I should just shut up and listen while you and the big people talk. That's taking my words out of context. Your words. She pointed a finger at him and herself in turn. My ears. You have so much to learn. I don't deny that, but I'm not an idiot. I might have a thing or two to bring to the table. You want to know why I talked to Devin and not you? She glared at him now, waiting to see if he would come back full snark or not. Gray sighed and waved his hands as if to say, go on. He listens. He might not agree with me, but he listens. He lets me lay it all on the line without name-calling or belittling me. Gray rolled his eyes so hard that Sage expected to see them pop from his head. Easy for him to do. He doesn't work in the field. She might as well be speaking to a brick wall for all the good it was doing. You know what? I don't think this is about me at all. It's about you. No matter what I say, you're going to have a comeback. So what is it? You don't want a partner? You didn't want one before I came along? Are you just a lone wolf who pushes everyone away so you don't have to share the glory? Glory? He choked on the word. This job isn't about glory. What then? We're not here for medals or recognition, so get that out of your head now. We protect the world from the destructive forces of magic. It's not pretty, it's not fun, but it is dangerous. People die every day in our line of work. especially arrogant newbie agents like you who get all doe-eyed over how cool magic is. For the second time in as many minutes, the force of his anger pushed her a step backwards. Sage hadn't realized that she'd struck a nerve. A raw one at that. Of course, as closed off as Gray was, how could anyone know what really bothered him? She gave herself a moment to cool off and approached more softly. Is that what happened to your last partner? Gray turned away. Don't do that. We're talking about you. He didn't have to confirm the obvious. She saw him in a new light. Misguided as his methods had been, his intentions were good. And she had to admit that she had been nothing short of a brat in the way she dealt with him. Neither of them had really taken the time to understand each other. Fine. She needed to be the bigger person and offer the olive branch. Let's talk about me then. You want to build trust between us? I've got something serious to tell you. Gray opened his mouth. I need you to hear me out first. She cut him off before he could speak. And when you feel the urge to lecture me on being a stupid newbie, bite your tongue. She held her hand out to shake. Can you do that? Gray glanced suspiciously over his shoulder. I'm really not going to like this, am I? Probably not. She waved her hand, reminding him that they needed to shake on this before she revealed anything. Remember, I'm coming to you with this. I'm trusting you, knowing it's going to potentially be fatal for me. Are you in danger? He faced her again, suspicion shifting to concern so quickly it made her head spin. Bad choice of words. She smirked, impishly, hoping to diffuse his temper before it had the chance to go off again. I'm just expecting the standard verbal bashing from you. That bad, eh? Oh, yeah. But if I hear the word newbie come from your lips, I'm knocking that stupid hat straight off your head. Gray's jaw tightened, and Sage began to regret opening up to him. She waited in silence, hands still extended. The comment about the hat might have been a little too mean, but she needed him to understand how badly his constant belittling was. He let out a sigh and took her hand, squeezing it as he shook it. Fine, I'm listening. Her throat suddenly went dry at the prospect of letting her secret slip, but she had committed to telling him, so there was no going back now. Sage swallowed hard. We've been going round and round trying to put the puzzles together, and as close as we've come, we still feel like there's a piece missing. Go on. He held her hand hostage, his grip tightening. I have a source. One very much dubious in nature who may have given me a way to connect the dots. You're speaking in riddles. His brow furrowed deeply. You mentioned the Djinn being a potential suspect, and while I haven't ruled that out completely, I do have a reason to believe they might be able to help us break the case wide open. Well, not they. One Djinn in particular. You know a Djinn, and you didn't tell me? Greg growled. At any moment, he was going to start calling her a damn newbie again. Hold your tongue, remember? She yanked her hand from his grip before he crushed it. I'm telling you now, partner, let me finish without the lecture. Gray's chest rumbled with each angry breath, but, true to his promise, he didn't utter another word. My new neighbor, she continued, he just moved into my apartment complex. I can't stress this enough. Meeting him was totally out of my control. He gave me a book and said it could help with the case. Gray stood, still as a statue, his body so tense that she could see the veins throbbing in his neck. One wrong word might set him off, and like a coiled spring, he'd shoot straight into the ceiling. Sage waited, cringing, knowing she was in a world of trouble for not telling him sooner about Luke. The more she thought about it, Luke could easily be involved in the case, if not the culprit. Being a Djinn automatically qualified him for the dark side. Not that anyone admitted to there being one. It's the person, not the magic, that does the evil deeds. But even people who spouted that ideology agreed that the Djinn were inherently bad. What if that were the case? Why would Luke give her the book? Maybe he was dark, but like Vader, he felt conflict? And it was just enough to make him do something for the light side? If only life worked as easily as sci-fi. The Djinn do things for their own personal reasons. Gray's reply came on a surprisingly level tone. What could this one get out of giving you a potential piece of evidence against him? Sage had spent the entire ride from Marin's back to A.S.S.E.T trying to figure out how it all fit together. She shrugged. I was thinking we'd have a look together. Maybe we can come up with the answer. Show me when we get inside. Gray looked around as if checking to make sure no one had heard them, and started walking towards the elevator. You really think my hat is stupid? His question stunned her speechless. In truth, she hated the hat. But Sage hadn't intended to wound his pride with her off-the-cuff remark. He couldn't be that fragile, could he? The elevator doors opened and Gray stepped in first, and when he looked at her, she could see he wanted an answer. Do you really think I'm just a dumb newbie? She deflected. Not every day. Same goes for the hat. She smirked, hoping that would be enough to placate his ego. They rode the elevator to the top and headed straight for an open office. Soon, they were behind closed doors, and Sage pulled the book from her bag. She thumbed through the pages, and Gray pulled the chair up next to her to look. Handwritten, definitely a journal of some kind. It had recipes of all kinds of manipulating magic. No wonder Devon had been upset. Whoever wrote that book was into some serious power grabbing. Gray commented as he read over her shoulder. Wait, hold on, stop there. The Amulet of Emmuri. The great gods, before the dawn of man, blessed the earth with creations. Ethereals were connected to the heavens and knowledge. Elementals were connected to the physical realm. Shades were connected to the world unseen. Each claimed supremacy, believing destiny to rule over all who dwelled within their realm, but none had the power to rule. Hubris led to the creation of the Terra, but even the mother's creation failed to be superior. To claim superiority, one must harness all the powers for their own. A few crude drawings with labels too faded to be read appeared to describe the cut and shape of a crystal that could be turned into the Amulet of Emmuri. 4 pages followed the drawing, filled with spells in a very specific order, meant to create a magical prison within the stone. From what she understood, once fully imbued with all the blessings and spells, the stone would be capable of housing 4 different elements of magic and use them as a type of battery. Each quadrant of the diamond-shaped stone had a unique spell to trap different power. The following pages had been dedicated to explaining how to obtain the magic, each page focusing on a specific branch, with their own requirements and special rituals. Sage focused on the underlined notes. Infusion of magical elements must come from living sources. Member from each magical family sacrificed to the stone. Magic held in a facet drawn upon as needed. Physical contact established to the stone to attune vibrations before infusion. Transfer of all elements happen within moon cycle. Cannot imbue stone with own magic. Draining power each attempt. External magic needed. Once Sage read that line, she noticed more scribbles and words that had been crossed out, as if the person who'd written them had tried various methods but failed each time. One word, however, she recognized, even with the fading light script. Djinn. Separated from magic, they do not appear to feel the power drain. Their curse removes their will to fight orders given. Facilitators. If that were true, that meant Luke was innocent. Sage breathed a sigh. Her instincts had been right, at least it seemed. But rather than gloat, she continued to read the notes. The Amulet of Emmuri is able to harness the magic held within. Ethereal, elemental, shade, and Terra? It allows the user to wear these powers as their own, even before the elements are imbued. The amulet had been used before, but Sage was reading this correctly. The creator of the magical artifact hadn't completed the transfer of all 4 branches. And she pulled out her own notes. The Gemini twins were members of the elemental family. The brownie was a member of the ethereal family. The kids soon belonged to the shade family, which left only the Terra. Someone was loading a stone, and she was 90% sure that was the case, which meant they were looking for a Terra next. She continued to read on. Djinn magic, not immune to the stone's pull, may need alternate facilitator drained magic. Some of the writing had been scratched out, and in place of the old words, new ones had been written with a modern pen. The handwriting was smoother, with less flourish. She had to guess a gender, she'd say male. One thing was for certain, it had been written recently. The darkness of the pen clashed against the yellowing pages and faded browns of the ancient-looking scribbles. The magic of the Djinn would be exhausted upon completion of the stone. Did that mean the Djinn would die or just lose access to their magic forever? If that was the case, then Luke clearly couldn't be the culprit, unless he would gain all the magic in the amulet instead. There were too many variables. Sage's head ached as she tried to work through the problem. Who was the Djinn really working for? Who was wishing Djinn magic into action? Could it really be Sylvia? She didn't seem that power-hungry. She had enough of that already. Marin looked to be guilty enough, but why would he cannibalize his own people for it? He already said that his powers of persuasion, I can read that word, kept his legs from being broken well enough times. The animal sanctuary? No, they were at risk of losing everything because someone called city inspectors on them. Why hurt themselves? Even now, she was stuck at square one. So, exactly how long were you planning to wait to tell me your neighbor was a Djinn? Gray asked with a surprisingly level tone. Sage shrugged. Honestly, I didn't think you'd listen to anything once I said the word Djinn. Because you pull secretive crap like this? He pointed at the book. Someone has to protect you from yourself. Like I said before, if you stop acting like I'm a clueless girl, you know what? Give me the benefit of the doubt, okay? Didn't I just do that? Gray asked. And yet, I feel there's a lecture coming. No, I keep my promises. I'm just pointing out facts. It's pretty clear you've known about this Djinn for a while, especially if he gave you the book. See, now that's where you're wrong. I hardly know the guy, and I've done my best to stay away from him too. He was the one to shove this thing in my face. I'd trust you more if you would tell me what's happening, especially at your house, Gray said. Still prickly because Zack came to hang out with me? A.S.S.E.T agents don't invite predators into their homes. He was dangerously close to breaking his promise. Says the man who used to date one. Sage cut him to the quick. Gray never spoke about the mysterious vampire ex of his. Don't. She wanted to shut down his high and mighty attitude, but the sudden choked silence between them spoke volumes. She'd overplayed her hand, and struck a tender nerve with him that she hadn't intended to. Zack's not the real issue here, she spoke cautiously. This was my olive branch. I hope that you would see my intentions are good. I can't live in fear that everything I do is going to be graded so harshly. We're supposed to be partners. You don't yet have the experience needed to make some of the decisions you've been making. And ridiculing me for everything I do is going to make me less likely to go it alone? No, he sighed. But you have to appreciate the danger. I'm not trying to get myself killed. Contrary to popular belief, I do like living. Then don't hide things from me. He sounded sincere. I'm telling you something pretty frickin' big now. How are you going to react to me? And what are you going to do with the information I just gave you? She glared at him, waiting to see if he could handle being nice for a change. You think your neighbor wants your help? Gray's eyes narrowed as he looked from the book to Sage's face. He's a Djinn. He didn't have to tell me anything. He could have let this happen right under my nose. He told you that a Terra was next on the list, probably to frighten you before he was forced to magic you into the stone. But how can that be if we're immune? You might not need to do anything magical. It might be something as simple as using your blood, or the blood from any Terra for that matter, to bathe the stone in magical protection. The book did call for an infusion. I believe he warned me for a reason. Sage laid the book back on the table and stood up. He's telling me he needs us to stop him because he can't stop himself. And how exactly are we supposed to do that? Good question. One she hadn't considered. But since Gray asked, she took the moment to think about it rather than blurt out the first words that came to mind. Bring the Djinn in and keep him safe here. And recall all the terrors in town until further notice. You need to clear that with Ava first. And explain to her why you waited till now to reveal that your new neighbor was a Djinn and has a magical plan. You really hate me, don't you? She asked, sending her in alone to tell Ava that she screwed up. He might as well have let her face the Djinn alone. She'd have a better chance of survival. You withheld evidence. Ava's going to want answers. Gray threw a dirty look her way. So very partnery of you. Throwing me under the bus. I thought you were supposed to have my back. I do. Way back here in the nosebleeds, eating popcorn and watching the shit show. He laughed at her. Whatever. I can take my lumps alone. I'm not scared. She scowled at him, trying really hard to hold that angry look. But when she asks why I didn't follow procedure, I'll tell her I didn't know what to do. I mean, I tried to ask you about Djinns, but all you said was they were evil and stay away. You know Ava won't fall for that crap. Do I? She batted her eyes innocently. It's not a lie. Gray let out a sigh. From now on, we listen to each other. Had I known about your neighbor, I'd have had an investigative team out there ASAP, looking into him and his connections. Speaking of, how are we going to learn who he's working for? One problem at a time. Now that we know who he is and what he's doing, let's bring him in. If we gift wrap him for Ava, she might go easy on you for taking your time to report him. Gray nodded towards the door. That was a plan she could get behind. Maybe Gray could be a good partner after all. And we're going to stop right there because this chapter was actually pretty long. So we'll do chapter 25 next week. So what are we thinking? Do we really think they're on the right trail, that it's something to do with Luke? Do we think he's innocent? Do we think he's guilty? Is he trying to trick Sage? And what do we think about Gray and Sage's new agreement of partnership? Are they actually going to be able to be all partnery and trust each other, or are they going to continue to snark at each other and throw each other under the bus? Which one sounds more fun? Actually, I kind of think it's more fun to throw each other under the bus. I don't know. That's just me, though. So let's see who's in the chat today. What is the point of pressing the bell icon if it doesn't even give no? I don't know. I really don't know. I've tried to do that on other channels, and I seem to get the notifications later. So I don't know a better way to get them. I tried to tag you on Facebook for that exact reason, because it seems like when I post these, nobody's seeing them until after the fact, and then they miss the live reading or the chance to participate in the comments. So I'm trying to figure out the best way to let people know what's going on. Wish I had a better answer. What else we got? I hate most about Gray is that he's so prejudicial and racist. He is jaded for a reason, and you just got a little clue of that in this chapter. And as the series continues, you will learn more about why he is the way he is, and it has to do with what he's learned through his history. We can only act on what we know, and the same goes for Gray. He can only react based on his prior history and the things that he's experienced with previous people in his life. And so he's definitely got a more jaded view of the world. He is a lot more protective over himself, his feelings, as well as the people that are around him. And he's not very good about how he protects the people around him. So he's kind of got that high and mighty, my way or the highway attitude about it, and which you can see does not work with Sage at all. She needs a little bit more open communication. She needs the ability to talk things out. So they're kind of an odd couple as it is, at least right now, being partnered up. And whether or not that evolves, we'll have to find out as the series progresses. But it makes for interesting banter when the two of them do argue. And I love characters arguing. I tend to write a lot of my characters arguing because it's fun. I love a good argument. But can they pull it together and can they work and find the answer? We have Rebecca is also listening and posting. Oh, no, I'm not getting any comments from Facebook. So she's posting them on Facebook. They're not showing up here. I've noticed that it seems Facebook comments that aren't on my author page, so like the ones on my personal page, don't ever show up here on the live chat. But the ones on my author page seem to show up. I don't know what the difference is. Yeah, I don't know. But I will go over to Facebook in a little bit and check those comments and see what she says. But all right, so I have gone for about 30 minutes. I don't want to waste too much of your time. As I said at the beginning, I have a shit ton of work to do. And even if the universe is throwing the Four of Swords card at me to tell me to calm down, relax, take some time for self-care and mental healing, I don't have that today. So I got to get on the ball. I have deadlines that have to be accomplished. So I will talk to you guys next week with another reading. We'll start off at chapter 25 next week. And I think 25 is a short one, so we'll probably do 25, 26, and if we have time, 27. But I don't want these to run too long. So until then, take your time for self-care. Don't be like me and ignore the universe's warning about that. And I will see you next week. Thanks for watching, guys.